On August 7th, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency raided several agricultural processing plants across Mississippi. In total, 680 removable aliens unlawfully working at these plants were arrested.
Governments, please put your heart. Let my parents be free with everybody else, please. Don't
Attention all units, cancel the operation. A little girl is crying.
Well, we have 680 in custody.
I said cancel the operation, goddammit! So here's what happened. Several food processing plants in Mississippi were targeted by ICE, who executed federal search warrants and seized business records pertaining to an ongoing federal criminal investigation regarding the employment of illegal aliens. And in the process, deportation officers from Enforcement and Removal Operations arrested 680 unlawfully present foreign nationals. And the way the media reacted to it should be no surprise.
A major ICE raid of undocumented workers last week is having devastating impacts on the families of those arrested.
It has divided families in some Mississippi communities.
Parents taken away on buses, separated from their children.
Children and spouses emotional.
So these families, many of them are beside themselves.
The thing that's so hard, Maria Elena, is to see all the children crying who are separated from their parents.
Deep trauma that we are purposefully putting and placing on these children for no reason.
Children coming home after their first day back at school, learning one of their parents was among the hundreds detained.
It was also first day of school.
The raids on the heels of the El Paso shooting, where Latinos were purposely targeted, also came on the first day of school for those children.
This morning, Trump administration critics are calling the enforcement draconian.
So Trump critics say that it's draconian, the definition of which means excessively harsh and severe. Let's see how draconian ICE was actually being.
Some of the parents were released with very young children. These were parents who were arrested and were released actually at the work site, not taken into detention. And then later, some 270 immigrants were released, and they say a lot of those were released because of custody determinations.
Wow, how draconian. Out of the 680 arrested, more than 300 were released the same day. The ones released were all given dates to show up to immigration hearings, and many of them were given ankle bracelets to track their movements. The ones who were not released and are still being held in detention had previously gone through the system and had final orders of removal. In other words, those illegal immigrants all had their due process, were told to leave, and chose to ignore the law.
My dad didn't do nothing. He's not a criminal.
I hate to break it to you, sweetie, but yes, he is. Her father and every unlawfully present alien arrested at the processing plants had entered the United States illegally, which is a crime. On top of that, they gained employment by using stolen identities. Identity theft and identity fraud are also crimes. For example, one of the affidavits related to the raids provides the example of a woman named Linda Nunez. Nunez stated that she received a letter from the unemployment office stating that her claim was denied due to current employment at Pearl River Foods. Nunez stated that she neither worked or applied for employment there. In reality, it was an illegal immigrant utilizing her personal identification information to get a job at Pearl River Foods.
They said, yes, we understand, but we're not here to take anything away from anyone. We don't commit any crimes. We don't hurt anyone.
Lots of sympathy for the undocumented parents and children, but what about Linda Nunez? What about her being able to access unemployment benefits to provide for her family?
They feel that the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
But it doesn't matter what they feel. What matters here is the law. And every single illegal immigrant knows that they're breaking the law, and they don't care.
Jose came to the United States from Mexico 20 years ago and was given a deportation order 2 years ago after being pulled over for a broken taillight.
Not only was he in the country illegally, but he was also driving a car without a license. And when he got a deportation order, he ignored it.
I'm just scared. One morning, and all my dreams and all my expectations and all my freedom just disappear.
Remember, folks, only illegal immigrants have hopes and dreams.
They are so worried they've covered up the windows at their home and even barricaded the front door.
Agents, they blocked the front entrance. We can't get in.
Can we just go the back door?
They outsmarted us, just let them stay. So while the news media is being sympathetic to the illegal aliens arrested in the raids, they know who the real criminals are.
680 food plant workers were arrested last week, but none of the people who employed them illegally were charged.
But none of the people who employed them illegally were charged.
Is the U.S. Attorney going to pursue action against the employers?
Is the U.S. Attorney going to pursue action? What do you think the raids were all about? Affidavits in support of the application for search warrants state that there is probable cause to believe that these companies were willfully and unlawfully employing illegal aliens in violation of federal law. The main purpose of the raids in Mississippi were to collect additional evidence and business records related to the criminal investigations of the companies.
Why are the employees immediately detained and put in jail and separated from their families, and you have these employers or managers who hired them and broke the law who are home free with their families?
Who needs evidence when Maria Elena Salinas knows with 100% certainty that the employers and managers broke the law and that they should all be locked up? Except it's not so simple. For example, let's take a look at the affidavit in the case against Pearl River Foods. The evidence came down to the following. First, there was proof that numerous employees were utilizing stolen identities to gain employment, including using social security numbers that had been reported as belonging to deceased individuals. Who cares? They're all dead. Victimless crime. It also showed that ICE conducted interviews with 3 US citizens whose social security numbers were stolen and being used by illegal immigrants to gain employment at the plant. It also showed 3 illegal immigrants that were detained at the border who had told ICE that they had gained employment at the plant with stolen identities. And finally, surveillance that was conducted in the parking lot of the plant found that the majority of names on vehicle registrations were not found on active employee lists. That's because while illegal aliens use stolen identities to gain employment, they tend to register vehicles and other items in their real names. With that said, the Pearl River Foods affidavit doesn't list any example of employer wrongdoing. So when it comes to the owners and managers, who exactly are you going to arrest? What are you going to charge them with? What law did they break? Now, I'm not saying whether or not Pearl River Foods knowingly broke the law, but there is no evidence of wrongdoing listed in the affidavit. But if you look at the cases against the other companies, the evidence is a lot clearer. For example, you'll see that one company, PH Food Inc., wasn't running all of their employees through the E-Verify website, which is required by state law. And in the A&B Inc. affidavit, an illegal alien who worked at the plant for 6 years claimed that the plant manager who hired employees said that they were not required to provide an identification document or a social security number to be employed at the plant. And the Cook Foods affidavit shows that an illegal immigrant applied for employment at the plant and was told by an HR employee that if the papers were not good, she was not going to be hired. The papers were in fact not good, and she could not be hired. But 3 weeks later, the same illegal immigrant returned to Cook Foods to apply for employment a second time with different documents. And the same HR employee hired her on the spot. So either the HR employee knew that the woman was using fake papers, or she was incredibly incompetent. And it should be noted that the illegal immigrant's claims about the HR employee aren't evidence in itself. Those claims need to be investigated. Now, if any of these companies or employers broke the law, they should be punished. But it can take months, if not years, to build a strong case.
These people who are just here to feed their families, and now they're detained, and these employers are not. These employers are home free with their families.
Yeah. If the media are so concerned about law and order, then why are they trying to justify illegal immigrants breaking the law, but demanding instant justice against the employers? No agenda here. Anyway, Reason.com released an interview with Dara Lind of ProPublica and gave some analysis on the raids.
Generally, the places that are targeted for these big raids are agricultural processing plants. And agricultural labor is the quintessential Americans won't do it. They're not the kind of job that people will necessarily take for the kind of wages that you can pay someone who isn't authorized to work here.
However, NPR's All Things Considered reported on a job fair that was being held by Cook Foods one of the companies that was raided.
Amanda Steele of Morton got here early before the doors opened.
Well, and I need a job, and I heard they might be doing some hiring, and me and my daughter come here Friday, and we did an application, and we seen the sign that said that we're going to have the job fair, and we come on out this morning. We got up at 6 o'clock this morning, ready to go. Hopefully we walk out here with some good news with a job.
Oh, you mean a job that Americans won't take?
22-year-old Camario Whitley came from Lake, Mississippi to apply. He says he used to work at the plant.
I want to do my old job, hanging birds, rehang cold birds.
You hear that, Dara? Camario wants his old job back, and I hope they give it to him. He seems like a cool dude.
Whitley says there's a misconception that only people here illegally want the poultry jobs.
They won't complain about the job as much as everybody else, but I believe all of the jobs in these chicken plants are fairly easy.
And it's not all deboning and hanging chickens. The affidavits for the raids show that illegal immigrants in these plants held positions such as cardboard box assembler, member of a cleaning crew, and driving forklifts. And who hasn't dreamed of becoming a forklift driver? Those were among the many positions that citizens and immigrants with work authorization could have held. Instead, those opportunities were stolen by illegal immigrants, and in some cases, by the companies themselves. But you know what? Maybe it's just easier to trust the media on all this.
They're fulfilling a need.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, they are not actually replacing other people's jobs.
You hear that, everyone? CBS says they weren't actually stealing jobs. It was all a misunderstanding.
That's fake news, sir.
I said shut it down! Thanks for watching, sharing, and hitting that like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out the links in the description and check out these videos that you may have missed. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody, and I hope to see you next time.